Good afternoon, my fellow Nigerians. It's a pleasure today to just review this. UACAS, as we all know, is into poverty alleviation and chronic diseases awareness. Then, the last but not the least is education. We will be contributing in different schools as we progress. But this very one is every Saturday. We'll be talking on some impactful topics. For example, the one we are doing today is mathematics. We can have digital marketing, English language. But today I want to do justice to quadratic equation. And this goes maybe majorly to those in secondary schools and maybe first semester in the tertiary institution. So if it is not for you, you can as well tell your daughter, your son, or cousin, or whoever, nephew, niece, to subscribe to UACAS channel in order to learn it. At the end of each lesson, there will be an assignment. At the end of each this topic, there will be an assignment, and this assignment, whoever that gets it right will be awarded, will be given a prize. So listen attentively. Every Saturday, tell them to watch UACAS lesson. So today we'll be talking about quadratic equations, and I believe from your secondary schools, if you're in 100 level, or if you're in the secondary school now, you will know, or you must have heard what quadratic equation is all about. Now, quadratic equation, before we go into quadratic equation, let's say what is quadratic expression. Quadratic expression is an expression that is factorizable. Quadratic expression is not equated to 0, but quadratic equation is equated to 0. For example, if you have x squared minus 4x minus 21, I will not equate it to 0. It's in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Sorry, not equate it to 0. That is quadratic expression. Now, quadratic expression, just as I told you, is not equated to 0, but quadratic equation is equated to 0. So if you have something like this, remember, if you're having minus 21, it's the same thing as plus minus 21. So this plus is still here. This c, the c here is minus 21. This one also, if you cover it like this, it will be minus 4x. So this is the same thing as this. So we're going to solve it the way it is. This is a quadratic expression. Quadratic expression is an expression not equated to 0. So this is a quadratic expression. So permit me to go like this. When you have a quadratic expression and you want to express it, that is to factorize it, you have to remember two things. You have two steps in solving quadratic expression. Step 1. So what did I do? Listen very well. I picked the first term and the last term. The first term here is x squared. The last term is minus 21. So I multiply the two to have minus 21x squared. Now the next thing you will do, you think very well. What will you multiply to give you minus 21, the last term, and when you add them, they will give you minus 4x, the middle term. That is step 2. Step 2. Now in this step 2, you look at it very well. I have 21. If you did this thing very well in primary school, they tell you 1 times 1, 1 times 1, 2 times 1, 2, 3 times 1, 3. So if you look at it very well, or you use factors, I have minus 21x squared. So I would think, what are the factors that if I multiply the two together, I'll have minus 21. And if I add both of them, I'll have minus 4x. So I know very well that 7 and 3 will give me 21. Then how will I arrange it? It's okay. Minus 7x times 3x will give me minus 21x squared, which is the same product. Do you know why I put minus 7 instead of minus 3x? Well, if I put minus 3x and I said minus 3x plus 7, it will not give me minus 4x. So I attached minus to 7, because if I said minus 7x plus 3x, it will give me minus 4x. Even if I said, this is what I'm saying, minus 7x plus 3x, it will give me minus 4x. You know that addition is commutative. What we mean by commutative is this. When you have a plus b, is the same thing as a plus b. It's the same thing as b plus a, irrespective of the sign, because it's addition. If I have just the same way multiplication, a times b is the same thing as b times a. So minus 7x plus 3x minus 7x plus 3x is equal to minus 4x. In the same manner, 3x minus 7x is equal to minus 4x. So addition is commutative, but you must assign the negative sign to the one that can give you the middle term, just as I did. So let's proceed on quadratic expression. Now, what they want me to do is to factorize x squared minus 4x minus 21. It's a quadratic expression. So once I arrive at the factorization, I am done. I just want to bring this, want to treat quadratic equation, but I want to bring this for you to know what quadratic expression is all about, in case you hear it anywhere. So what to do, we have this one. Let me now put it. Thus, minus x squared minus 4x minus 21 is the same thing as what? I'll replace this, the middle term, x squared. Look at it. Anyhow I write it, I have to regroup it. X squared, I can carry this, minus 7x plus 3x minus 21. This is the equation. This is equation 2. Now listen. Look at it. If I replace minus 7x plus 3x is minus 4x. So I have not confused you. What I just did is to replace this with this, which is the same thing as minus 4x. Is that clear? So Now, what do we do again? Look at it very well. I want to group it. So I'll put it like this: x squared plus 3x minus 7x minus 21. Right? Now this is the same thing as x into the bracket of x plus 3. That is x times x will give me x squared, and x times 3 will give me 3x minus 7x. Now look at something here. Something has changed. Plus 3. If you look at it very well, you will notice that this minus has changed to plus. What it really means is that this minus is affecting this x. That is minus 7 times x will give me minus 7x. And this minus 7 times plus 3 will give me minus 21. The same thing we learned from primary school, that minus times plus is equals minus. We also learned that plus times minus is equals minus. So when negative sign affects any positive sign, it changes that negative sign. And we also know that minus times minus is equal to what? Plus. So we know this very well from our respective primary schools or even the secondary school, as the case may be. Now this is what they want me to do. I'll collect the first term either inside or outside, because multiplication is commutative, just as I did before I started solving. So this is the same thing as x plus 3 and x minus 7. Do you know that we can prove this? By the time you multiply this out, you will still have the same equation when you open it. So you can check. If you want to check, this is the same thing as right check. X plus 3, x minus 7 is equal to, we have x squared, x times x, minus x times minus 7 is minus 7x, 3 times x minus 3x, 3 times minus 7 is minus 21. Now you look at it. X times x, we have x squared. X times minus 7, we have minus 7x. 3 times x, we have plus 3x. Then 3 times minus 7, we have minus 21. So this is the same thing as x squared. Minus 7x plus 3x is the same thing as minus 4x. And x squared multiplied by minus 21. Sorry, we've done it already. And minus 21 is the same thing as minus 21. So we find out that we'll still get back our original equation. So you prove it. That's QED. Now QED, if you finish proving anything, is called errand demonstrandum. So it means we have checked it. Okay. So it's all about quadratic expression. But what we want to do today is not quadratic expression, but quadratic equation. So I believe you have seen it. What we said is x squared minus 4x minus 21 is a quadratic expression because it is not equated to 0. Now, how do we factorize this? We factorize by considering the first term and the last term, which you multiply. We multiply it to get minus 21x squared. We now said what are the factors that if we add them, we have minus 4x, and if we multiply them, we will get minus 21x squared. We said such factors is minus 7 and 3. So we now replace our x because of the squared. Minus 7x times 3x will give us minus 21x squared. Minus 7x plus 3x will give us minus 4x. Good. So we now replace those two factors with 4. So the two factors can still give us minus 4x, which we did here. So we replace minus 4x with 3x minus 7x, which we said it can still give us minus 4x. We grouped the equation from here to get here. That is x squared plus 3x. We brought this, the plus together, and the minus together. So we now factorize it. We have x, look at it, will give us the same side here, minus, look at it, by the time you open this bracket, you have this. So this is what we did. We now checked x plus 3, x minus 7 equals this. So we got back our x squared minus 4x minus 21. So you can check your answer. I will set QED, that is quad error demonstrandum, that you have proved it, or you have checked it, and you found out that it is correct. So let's go proper to quadratic equation. The first method of quadratic equation is factorization method. Factorization method. Now, this is an expression. Quadratic equation is a polynomial of degree 2. By the time you get to the higher institution and you are doing ordinary differential equation or partial differential equation, you understand the degrees. We have order 2, we have degree, all these things, you say them. So if you are in secondary school and you are writing JAM, I wish you well. So what we want to do is quadratic equation. And we said that quadratic equation is just like quadratic expression, but it is equated to 0. Which simply means you need to find the value of x. And these values are always 2. Because it's degree 2. These values can be distinct, it can be imaginary values, and it can be repeated values or roots, as the case may be. So we'll get to that. Now let's check x squared. Let's use the first example. X squared minus 4x minus 21 equals 0. This is the quadratic equation. And how did I know that this is the quadratic equation? Because I've seen degree 2 is raised to the power of 2. The x, the highest power of x is raised to the power of 2. And that makes this polynomial a quadratic equation because of the degree 2. Now, we want to use factorization method. Factorization method. Factorization method. Now, what do you mean by factorization method? There are some certain quadratic equations that we cannot use factorization method because the left-hand side will not be factorizable. And when the left-hand side is not factorizable, then that will take us to the next topic we'll treat next week, Friday. want to rush it. We are taking it one after the other so that you can get everything. We'll treat all the topics here. Just relax. So now, what do we do? I want to use line to illustrate this. Look at it. This very one and this very one, just as we did from quadratic expression, you take the first term and the last term. So x squared multiplied by 21 minus 21 will give me minus 21x squared. Right? Now, when we're doing quadratic expression, so we'll consider the first term and the last term. The first term is x squared and the last term is minus 21. So these two terms, we multiply them together to have minus 21x squared minus 21x squared minus 21x squared. Now, from what we learned just now, minus 21x squared have two factors, 21. We have 7 and 3. 7 minus 3 will give me what? Plus 4, which will not go. I told us something. You may have forgotten, but I'll remind you. I said, consider this middle term before you start adding, before you start multiplying. What will I add to give me minus 4x? And what will I multiply to give me the product of the first term and the last term? Simple. Now I know that this will give me what? Minus 7x plus 3x. Right? Minus 7x plus 3x equals what? Minus 4x. Now, minus 7x times 3x equals minus 21x squared. Good. So what we do, we replace. Let your work be neat as this. You may not draw this in your question answer sheet, but just get the picture. That is the first term and the last term. So look at it. That means the equation is, we say that is x squared minus 4x minus 21 equals 0. Recall. So we now have x squared minus, remember that we have minus 7x plus 3x equals minus 4x. The two terms is minus 7 and 3. So replace it. We have minus 7x plus 3x minus 21 equals 0. Now see, there's one thing that somebody told us one day in my year one. The man is very good anyway. Let me remember him today. That is Uncle Bernard. He said, whether you know something or you don't know something, you will say solution. I forgot to tell you from the beginning, solution. He said, just be serious. The person beside you may be trying to come. The person beside you may say, Obori is a mercenary. But that will give you the morale. Just write solution. Then underline the solution as I give you the question paper. So you now come, you just rewrite the question given to you. You say, given that x squared minus 4x minus 21 equals 0. So just these two lines, if it's theory, then we mark these two lines. You may have one mark at all. So you must write solution given that this makes mathematics very sweet. So please, in our next question, I'll write like that. So you can say that is the same thing as what? X squared minus, I can put it x squared plus 3x minus 7x minus 21 equals 0. This is what? By grouping. By grouping. By grouping. That does not mean that without you grouping it, in case you start seeing that, man, if I not group this, I won't get it. No. Even if I not group it, I can still get the answer. Just as we did in the expression, I can still get the answer without grouping these terms. So I will do that later. So what we have x plus 3 minus 7 x plus 3, which is equal to what? 0. Now, we said x plus 3 x minus 7 equals what? Equals 0. Remember, quadratic equation is of the form AB equals 0, which means that it's either A equals 0 or B equals 0. A equals 0 or B equals 0, or both are equal to what? 0. So please don't forget this. Now look at it. We have what? From that analysis, x plus 3 equals 0 or x minus 7 equals 0. Now, it simply means that x equals minus 3 or x equals 7. From our primary school, we know that if positive sign crosses the sign of equality, it changes to minus. It's plus 3 here, but it has crossed this equal sign. It changes to minus 3. And this minus 7 crosses the equal sign, changes to plus 7. We don't write plus 7 and add plus, because since we not indicate any sign, it's assumed that is plus. So don't say that plus 7, okay? Thank you. So what we have from that is x is equal to minus 3 or plus 7. This is the solution. Now, what do you do if you have something like this? If you have something like this, what do you do? You can check this two roots or values to know whether it will give you 0, the two sides. So check. It's always good to check your answer. What? Minus 4 times minus 3. I have 4 times 3 is what? 4 times 3 is 12. I have plus 12 minus 21. This is the left hand side. The right hand side is already equal to 0. And for your solution to be correct, the root, if substituted, must give you the left hand side 0 and the right hand side 0. So this is the same thing as what? Plus 9 plus 12 is the same thing as 21. Minus 21 equals 0. So minus 21 minus 21 is the same thing as 0. So the both sides 0 equals 0. So the answer is what? Correct.